Hey everyone, Magic Sword here. We have a bit of a short one today. Only 4 new cards were officially released over the weekend, so let's get right into it. First up, we have Ras Frostwhisper, 5 mana, 3/6, Shaman Mage Legendary. At the end of your turn, deal 1 damage to all enemies, and that 1 damage is improved by spell damage. So immediately, there's an obvious parallel here to the Dreadlord of old, except this is a legendary, so it's a one of, and it also hits face, and it has a big upside potentially. So, kind of a fair trade off for being just a one of in the deck. But let's think about that upside real quick. How often are you actually going to be able to proc it in any real capacity? So, my first thought was that this could fit into a Highlander Mage with Solarian Prime, as that's already in there, but that and maybe even an Azure Explorer, which gives +2, right? So that would be 3 damage to everything and 3 damage to face, right? So maybe you Azure Explorer on 4, then you play this on 5, and if the Azure Explorer lives, you deal 3 damage to everything on their board. Pretty big. Similarly, you can Solarian and this on 7 and guarantee 2 damage to everything. So you basically get a little Blizzard effect, right? A nice little clear. It's kind of weak for that stage in the game. Let me again say that the base power level of this is pretty high because it's comparable to Dreadlord. And especially in Highlander decks where the threshold for how good something has to be to see play isn't as high, you could probably fit it in there. I was thinking also on the Shaman side of things, you could throw in Squall Hunter. Some sort of dragon shaman. I'm sure Kibler's going to try it. But hopping back to Mage again. Kirantor Tricaster, which is a card you may not have even known existed, is a 4 mana 3/3 that gives you spell damage +3 on the condition that your spells cost 1 more. Well, this isn't a spell. So for 9 mana, you could have both of those bodies and functionally cast Flame Strike and hit their face for 4 damage. That's pretty strong as a 2-card combo, but you have to run Kirantor Tricaster. So, I don't know. I mostly wanted to focus on cards that we know are already good enough to see play and how they synergize with this. So, again, Solarian, Azure Explorer. I think this will be good, especially in Mage. Probably not so much Shaman, except, again, of course, for Squall Hunter. But even though Squall Hunter is a 4-drop, because of the overload, it doesn't actually curve into this, right? You can't play this on 5 if you play Squall Hunter on 4. So, I don't know. I don't know how that'll work out in Shaman. But overall, power level pretty high here. I'm kind of surprised that it isn't some sort of freeze effect. I was really expecting all of the Mage Shaman stuff to be about freeze. But so far we have this and Devolving Missiles, which is neither. Neither of those is freeze, right? So, I don't know. We'll see. I was hoping to finally get some free Shaman support, but I guess not. Next up, Groundskeeper. This is a great Druid card, generally speaking. These, if you have a spell of 5 or more, Druid always does. Druid always has a spell that's that expensive. And restore 5 health, that's pretty good in the control. And it's taunt, 4 mana, 4/5 taunt, so premium stats with upside, always a good thing to see, right? This is a strong card, even without the effect, the battle cry. My only issue is that Druid seems to be steering away from those like big spell control style decks right now because they seem to be pushing kind of a more of a zoo style for it. But I don't know. I don't know if it'll see play in Druid, but it's definitely useful, right? It's definitely a good card. Pretty high power level. And you may have noticed I didn't mention that it's a Druid Shaman dual class card. That's because I can't really see it being used in Shaman at all. Big spell Shaman isn't a thing right now, and just running a Yeti isn't really good either. And even if it were... So first of all, Shaman has 5 plus cost spells. There we go. And one of those is the Galakron spell, the one where you need to run Galakron to actually make it work. And I don't know. The unfortunate through line with most of these dual class cards seems to me to be that one of the cards or one of the classes in the duo is better represented or supported by the card than the other. In this case, I think this is much, much more of a druid card than it is a shaman card. That's not to say that they're doing a poor job with the design. I think generally these designs are great. I just think that a few of these are a little too skewed towards one class than the other, which isn't really a problem. I'm just surprised that it's so many. In terms of flavor, they're all like perfectly in the middle, but in terms of use, I find that they are more skewed towards one. Anyway, let's look at a pure card instead. Paladin, 8 mana, 3/12, Tenured Professor Turalyon. This is not the official translation. It could just be Turalyon. I've seen that floating around. I've seen other translations floating around as well. But Rush. Whenever this attacks a minion, set that minion's attack and health to 3. So we see that classic Tarim effect, set a guy to 3/3. That's pretty much always strong when it shows up. You could also, let's reframe this, I guess, right? Instead of an 8 mana 3/12, do that. Think of it as an 8 mana 3/9, remove a minion. So this is Assassinate with a 3/9 body. That's really good. There is potential even to remove 2 minions with this, but because, 9 health is a lot, but it's not impossible to deal with on 8. This is a very high priority target by the time it comes down, right? Also, Shadow Word Pain exists, and that brings me pain, because let's not go on a priest rant. There aren't any priest cards yet. The other thing about this is that this feels like a good control tool, right? 8 mana, 3/12, kill a guy, maybe 2 with it. But Paladin seems to be tending towards a more aggressive playstyle lately. I was thinking maybe you could see this in Libram Paladin, which would solve your 3 attack problem. You could set its attack to 4 with one of the Librams. But I don't know. We'll have to see if this is able to shake out into anything. I'm not super hopeful. I don't think it's incredibly likely. I am hoping that it will, because I really like the design of this card. Alright, and our last card revealed just minutes ago is Gift of Luminance. 3 mana spell shared between Paladin and Priest. Give a minion Divine Shield, then summon a 1/1 copy of it. So the nice thing about this is that worst case scenario, you are giving a minion Divine Shield and summoning an Argent Squire, which, while not amazing, can be worth running, especially over, there's that 1 mana Paladin spell that's just like, give this guy Divine Shield, and, why would I ever want to do that? Why would I ever want to just play Hand of Protection by itself? I won't. I wouldn't. So the potential upside here makes this playable to me. I think this is going to see a lot of use in Arena for the same reasons that all of Paladin's buffs do. You can snowball a game on, turn 2, 3, or 4, and then your opponent just can't do anything about it. It just totally gets away from them. So that's a little bit of my Arena experience kicking in here. As for constructed play, it's a little harder for me to see where this fits in exactly. But for Paladin, I do quite like it as a way to, for example, play around with your reborn minions, like Shotbot. So on curve Shotbot, on curve Gift of Luminance. You play the Shotbot, then you duplicate a Shotbot, and now when that second Shotbot, it's a 1/1, sure, but when it gets reborn, it's reborn as a 2/1. Also, it has Divine Shield, and so it's just kind of nice to have a dude to ping with, right? You just get a little token, you just slap people with it. As for use in Priest, I don't know. I think, I should add, actually, that all your primes, Reliquary of Souls and McGurgle, both could be used with this pretty effectively. Powerful death rattles are kind of a secondary thing, though, because, if you're giving it Divine Shield, it's just less likely to die immediately. So you don't get that immediate payoff of duplicating your death rattles that you normally would. but it's still pretty useful generally just to be able to give something Divine Shield real quick and summon a little token. So, even though you don't get the immediate payoff, I think it's still pretty good value generation, especially for something like, since we're talking about Priest now, Evil Conscriptor or Grand Mummy, though I don't know that necessarily those are the two best targets. For current Priest, I was thinking duplicating your Water Bearer is actually pretty nice. And the Divine Shield give it a little bit of survivability. So, your end of turn effects, that's something else you want to look into with this. It also increases your res pool if you're doing some sort of res priest, right? You can, it doesn't matter if the token dies, it'll summon a full body, right? There was one thing that I wanted to say about priest, and I'm a little unsure about it. I'm very unsure about it. And in fact, I think it might just end up not being a thing. But based on the tools Priest is getting here, I feel like they're trying to make a more aggressive Priest archetype happen. And this is just based on looking at the types of cards it's gotten so far. And with this new one, I think that kind of is the direction it feels like they're pushing it, right? Because who are its two dual classes? Warlock and Paladin. And the only way you can get more Zoo is if you threw Druid in there, right? More just like throwing dudes on the board, right? Very aggressive style of decks. I think Gandling would go a long way in making this happen. The Giant could go a long way in making this happen. Brittlebone Destroyer could make this happen, right? Frazzled Freshman, overstated 1-drop, seems pretty aggressive to me. I said earlier that doesn't really seem like it fits in Priest, but maybe they're trying to force this to happen, right? And even like, Evil Conscriptor, Grand Mummy, those are acceptable to play at those times on 2, right? Like on curve there. Cold Seer and Chaplain, give a minion +2 health. It's vanilla stats with that upside. That's pretty powerful. It's just a better sidekick, right? I don't know. I think I'm not going to make any claims about whether this is going to be an effective archetype. I will say it feels like they're trying to push it now. That could just be the lack of sleep talking. It's pretty late now. So that wraps it up. That wraps up this card review. So I hope you enjoyed. This is a bit of a shorter one. We didn't have so many cards. I feel like maybe I was talking about them a bit more because of that. But all in all, I think we have some... This was the least exciting one just because it had the fewest, but I think we still have some really solid picks here. Some awesome reveals. There were a few so far out of the 32 or whatever that have been revealed that I've been disappointed in. Yeah, that's everything. Make sure you like, subscribe, leave a comment, tell me what you think about all this. Follow me on Twitch, Twitter, etc., etc. And have a lovely day. We'll see you tomorrow with more card reveals.